Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday, August the 8th, 2021. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Whether you want your home decorated for the holidays or maybe you want to decorate someone else's home for the holidays and do it as a business, let them know they're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York on Long Island. The telephone number is 631-957-5106. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. Also brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. For everything you need from hardware to topsoil to mulch. In the wintertime, it'll be salt. And if you got to replenish your emergency preparedness supplies, you can head over to Omni for the best prices in town. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So Joe Rayo will be here momentarily, I assume. In the meantime, my my plan of attack tonight was to start off with the tropical system, a potential tropical cyclone 6, but lo and behold, we've got some thunderstorms rumbling around in parts of southeastern and south central Pennsylvania, and also there's a pretty healthy looking bow line that is moving through north central New Jersey, and looks like it's now moved into New York City. So we're going to take a look at that. There's Mr. Rayo as he just pops on in. So first things first, Mr. Rayo, we've got busy radars here. So I think that's where we're going to go first. And I'm going to bring up the uh, Upton radar because there's actually some stuff. I didn't expect, I thought there might be some pop-ups. I did not anticipate that we would wind up seeing uh, some clusters of severe thunderstorms. There's a bunch of warnings up in parts of Pennsylvania at the moment, too. So we're going to take a look at those. But here's the Upton radar. And those cells there that are now moving into, let me give this a quick refresh because it's a little bit behind. Uh, there it goes. Update, please. And there's your last frame now. We have looks like two special marine warnings that just went up, and they cover coastal Monmouth and coastal Ocean counties. I'm wondering whether there might be severe thunderstorm warnings up for there, so I'll have to check on that.
It looks like, Joe, as you were absolutely right, this area is certainly more than just a pop-up. This is, it almost looks like it looks like on the front, looks like a squall line, and then in the back, we have just a wide area of shower activity covering much of northern New Jersey. And, the atmosphere certainly is getting progressively juicier, if you will. The dew point temperatures are coming up, and we'll be seeing, I'm sure, more of this over the next few days, as especially so as the heat builds over our area. I noticed one discussion from the Storm Prediction Center talking about locally Cape values of like 2,500 to 3,000, which is awfully high for our part of the country. But that is the fuel that thunderstorms need to become rather potent, and we're seeing just one prime example of that right now, moving into the immediate New York City metropolitan area.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up the severe weather warnings on Tornado HQ. I'm going to switch to the Fort Dix radar so we can take a look at what's going on in southeastern Pennsylvania, because those cells look very healthy indeed. And they just are, look at that. There's a whole slew of severe thunderstorm warnings. You know what? The Dover radar might look a little better. Let's try that one. Let's go to Dover and take a look at these storms here. Yeah, there you go. So we can actually see both clusters that are coming through. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, I can't even count them. Looks like about 10 severe thunderstorm warnings are at work at the moment. I'm trying to look them up here on Tornado HQ, and hang on, because there's a whole bunch of them I have to scroll through. There's a new one. And also, by the way, just so you know, there's a severe thunderstorm warning for the county next to mine. So, and I could hear the thunders. So I'm just hoping that it doesn't get any closer and we wind up losing some power here. Uh, there's a warning that went up 7 minutes ago for Calvert, Charles, Prince George, and St. Mary's County in Maryland. And for those of you that are watching from the state of Maryland and around the Washington, D.C. area, boy, there's a whole bunch all over the place. Uh, in parts of the southeast, we've got some severe thunderstorm warnings up for a few counties in South Carolina, a couple of counties here in the state of Georgia. I'm trying to find the ones. Here's one from 25 minutes ago. So this expires 40 minutes from now. The severe thunderstorm warning for Berks, Chester, and Montgomery counties in Pennsylvania. We have severe thunderstorm warning. Here's another one that expires in 9 minutes for Baltimore, Cecil, and Harford counties in Maryland. In Charlotte and Halifax counties in Virginia. Another one here from earlier. Here's one that's going to expire in 9 minutes, and that's in also in Maryland. If you're watching this on a replay, folks, it's 7:36 Eastern time. So if you're seeing this on a replay, obviously the radars are going to be dated, but definitely very very busy here on the Dover, Delaware radar shows. But the line that's moving across Pennsylvania, I'm sorry, the line that's moving across New Jersey. Looks like the northern edge of it is just about to New York City. It's just out of the range of this radar, and those cells have now passed Trenton and are moving into Burlington and Western Ocean County, and also into through Monmouth County. So they'll start to move offshore. I gotta think that this stuff is peaking out now as we go into sunset, and we should start to see this all start to wind down shortly.
We would hope. And if it's your typical diurnal type storm activity, which begins to pop or begins to rev up around 3 o'clock, so we anticipate that probably around 9 or 10 this evening, a lot of what you're seeing there, and again, take note of the time frame. This is at 7:37 p.m. Eastern time. Certainly by 9 or 10 o'clock, a lot of what you see there will probably have begun to weaken significantly, and then we'll do it all over again, probably tomorrow and again probably on Thursday, and probably again on Friday as well, Joe.
Yep. The storms in the south are a little more spread out, and the cells are kind of embedded in these general clusters. So the thunderstorms are a little more isolated in nature in the southeast and down to the Florida Panhandle, and also off the west coast of Florida. But we ought to pay attention. Now, this is all coming out of the enhanced risk of severe weather that the Storm Prediction Center had for areas in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. So we've got 7 severe thunderstorm warnings. It looks like one tornado warning up in northern Wisconsin. See that little red box that popped up there. And this, again, this is where SPC was talking about yesterday with the enhanced risk of severe weather. And you can see that's where they had it. They actually pushed the marginal risk line pretty far to the east to about New York City. I kind of thought that the stuff, I said earlier, I'm a little bit, I guess I'm upset with myself talking about just some pop-ups, because they wound up obviously being more than just some pop-ups. But you're right, this is all juiced up. You're talking about a juiced up atmosphere, dew points up into the 70s, and we're going to see these temperatures go up into the 90s the next couple of days. So I wouldn't be shocked at all, like as you pointed out, that we wind up seeing some clusters of heavy and possibly even some severe thunderstorms in the mix tomorrow, Thursday. And by the way, here's something. I might as well go through this. So for tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center, as the map attempts to load, there we go. The Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk of severe weather in virtually the same place that it has it for today, and the marginal risk is also pushed out to the east in about almost to the same place it is today. So it's wash, rinse, repeat for tomorrow. Then on Thursday, we have a marginal, there's no slight risk yet on Thursday, but there's an east-west band of marginal risk from the Central Plains all the way into western New England, and that includes New York City and Philadelphia. Does not include Boston, and it's north and west of Baltimore and Washington. But here's something we don't see very often, Joe. The day 4, they have a 15% slight risk on day 4 almost into western New Jersey there. It just touches western New Jersey and covers most of Pennsylvania and southern New York. So, I mean, if you want to use your imagination, I'm just going to guess that there'll be a marginal risk that they'll probably have, something like this for Thursday. This is for Friday into Saturday. I'm sorry, this is for Friday into Saturday. That you're going to wind up seeing that 15% area represents what they think is going to be slight risk. So I would imagine that much of the area is going to be at least a marginal risk of severe weather, if not a slight risk for severe weather on Friday into Saturday.
Well, don't sell them short if they're sticking their neck out and putting something up for day 4. Dare I say there might be within that 15% area. Dare I say there might even be a little bit of enhanced risk, as we saw about a week ago. Might they actually go all the way and make suggestions that we might be looking at something possibly really nasty for to close out this week?
Well, you're going to be in the 90s on Thursday. You're going to be in the 90s tomorrow. Thursday, I thought would probably be the hottest day of this stretch, with temperatures in the mid to upper 90s. And Friday could be every bit of low and middle 90s. So why not? It's not impossible. That's a front coming by with an upper trough. Well, tomorrow we'll be in the day 3 zone. So then we'll be able to get a good look and get an early look on what they think about Friday and Friday night.
We'll see. We shall see.
We shall see, of course. And on the 21Z map, I mean, there's nothing special going on here, but just taking a look at some of these 5 o'clock temperature dew points. All the dew points, we saw most temperatures in the upper 80s. There were clouds that hung around because of that ridiculous low that is now finally gone. But this morning you could still see it swirling just northeast of Cape Cod. But no doubt, we're talking about tropical air here up and down the eastern seaboard, with dew points up in the low 70s and temperatures today that made it to middle 80s to some lower 90s in places further south down in Maryland and southern Pennsylvania. So it was all there for the picking, I guess. And obviously we're seeing the fruits of today's heating, and we're going to get much more heating tomorrow and Thursday. Here's the warm sector that is setting up around the Great Lakes for the severe weather we're seeing in and around Chicago and Milwaukee tonight. And we saw that just a little earlier on the radar. But you've got temperatures in the 90s that pushed up into Wisconsin. And then you jump on the other side of the front, and most temperatures are in the 70s and even some 60s. So there was a pretty interesting little warm sector here that formed. And is producing the severe weather there. And that's our frontal system. There's a series of these weather fronts going up into Canada. So we're seeing these all push to the east. I guess as each one approaches us, Joe, it kind of weakens. We do have, Joe's got the share. I'm going to switch over to Mr. Rayo because he's got Mr. RPM to show you.
Yes, and if you look at the RPM here, Joe, it's basically the same story. It looks like for tomorrow. And this is based on the 21Z data, and they've only gone out as far as about 38, 39 hours. But that does cover, tonight, tomorrow, into tomorrow evening, and then it comes to an end. Let me just see where it does come to an end here. 12:30Z on the 12th. So that means that. You can see for yourself, there's nothing really overly intense until we get to the late afternoon hours. And then after sundown, it kind of fades out, and then it just starts all up again the next day. And we're just going to have to watch and see what happens tomorrow afternoon. This afternoon, for example, I know my wife is very disappointed because she was hoping to get a little precipitation on her tomato plants, as well as the tomato plants for my son. My son is away this week, and we haven't had anything. We've had not a drop. We've had not a, as you would say, a snowflake or a ice pellet all
Yeah,
through the course of the day. And meanwhile, places to our south and to our southwest are getting hammered. Not fair. We want
yeah.
order.
Another on the satellite tonight, and we've got it up there on the screen. You can, actually, for the first time in the last couple of days, it looks like there's a little less smoke today. It runs across Northern California, through Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, and through the Central Plains, and then swings on up to the Great Lakes. But it looks a little bit. Yesterday, it looked very widespread. So today, it looks a bit narrower. You can see the storms firing up in the east, the ones that are firing up in the Midwest. You're also seeing the storms that are firing up along the Florida coast and some of the heavier rains there. Also, on the lower right, you should be able to see. Let me just move. I'm going to move the picture over just a bit so you can see it there. You can see potential tropical cyclone 6. Now, off the satellite, it actually looks, the signature looks like, if you didn't know any better, you would say, oh, this has got to be a tropical storm. It is a bit elongated north-south. You can see the northern extent of the cirrus goes pretty far up north of the islands, and then there's a little core of convection that seems to be blossoming out right near where the center is. And there's an Air Force reconnaissance aircraft that is there now, just beginning to send some observations. I'm just going to refresh this. They're just kind of getting ready here to get over into the center. I'm not seeing of some of the wind observations that they took on the fly in. There's northeast winds, and then of course you've got southeast winds on the other side. And we're talking about the fact, Joe, that and I looked at the old recon, and they said on the discussion that it looked more like an open wave than it did a totally closed circulation. And the last recon showed that, I mean, you had southeast winds on one side, northeast winds on the other. So it's just kind of like this V shape. And I didn't see any westerly winds on the southern side. So that's why it's still being labeled as a potential tropical cyclone and has not been upgraded to a tropical storm. And that, by the way, was the subject of today's poll question. I just said, will Fred be a tropical storm before landfall Wednesday morning in Hispaniola? And so far, with 57 votes counted, we've got 70% of our audience tonight saying yes, it will, and 30% say no, it won't. So what does Joe Rayo say?
I voted already, and I
And
said yes, it will.
you say it will. Okay,
Yes,
interesting.
yes, it will.
Any
And I
particular?
would also point out that it was a 1 year ago tomorrow that we had the formation of Josephine. So it would seem that if Fred does form by tomorrow morning, for example, we will be, let's see, F, E, F, G, H, I, J. So we're still going to be like five letters behind last year. But as I pointed out also yesterday, we're ahead of the game in terms of how normal or the normal for the position. I mean, normally at this time, you would not expect to see the F storm until early September. So we're a month ahead of the game in terms of normal, but we're a month behind in terms of the record-breaking pace that we went through last year in terms of tropical cyclone activity.
And as far as the latest on the spaghetti plots, the system forecast to move right across Hispaniola pretty much the long way from southeast to northwest. So it's taken a full land route. This is going to really do a number, I think, on any closed circulation that might be there. I think if they can't close this off and it winds up going in over Hispaniola, I think it may wind up degenerating into an open wave for a while. You mentioned that last night, and I believe that is possible, and it also is not going to help the cause of strengthening, the argument of strengthening. If you're dealing with westerly winds, wind shear in the upper atmosphere running along and north of the coastlines of Cuba and the Dominican Republic up into the Bahamas. So this is going to be problematic. Now, after that, The plot models have all kind of shifted a little bit to the west during this afternoon. It's almost all of them take it into the into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and eventually making a landfall early next week sometime in the Florida Panhandle. I think it's going to depend on what you have. The weaker the system is, I think the further west this is going to wind up going.
Now,
And
whether or not it becomes Fred or whether or not it just remains a tropical, depression or something, it's still going to bring a lot of rain, especially to those places where it's going to be interacting with the hills of the Dominican Republic, with Cuba, and eventually by late in the weekend, by Sunday and Monday, there's going to be a pretty wet system that's going to be emerging out of the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and I suspect, Mr. Chiaffi, that you will be in the path of whatever heavy rains that come out of this. I get at the beginning of next week.
I mind, Rabbit. I mind. Izzy D hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Izzy. He says, "We do you or I think any remnants of Fred come up the East Coast? I'm selfish. I care more about how much it affects our weather in this area." I get it. Well, I guess it depends on. It's going to depend on the overall upper flow. Interestingly enough, with this ridge that's building in the eastern part of the United States, the northeastern part of the United States into Canada, it kind of does. It kind of does create sort of a bizarre weakness in the flow from Virginia on southward. So you notice that some of those tracking models start to turn it northeastward once it goes inland into the Florida Panhandle. And it's not impossible that moisture. I'm assuming that that's what we're dealing with here. I mean, now this could be all thrown into a big mess if we wind up seeing maybe if the system tracks far enough off the Florida coast and you get something that strengthens. Maybe it goes even further west. I don't know. So, I mean, assuming that these tracks are correct, they're all bunched up together, so it does lend some confidence, but it is also a long ways off. We're talking about maybe we're talking about a week from now, if something was going to come up the East Coast. I mean, in terms of the moisture coming up the East Coast. Early call, I would say it's not impossible.
Well, to answer that question as to what the Climate Prediction Center is anticipating, take a look. They have a slight risk.
Hold on. Hold on. Are you okay? Hang on. Let's take a look. I got to switch. I got to put you back on the screen here. So just give me a second.
Okay.
Oh, God. I got a trigger finger here. Come on. There we go. And now it's up.
So they have a slight risk of excessive rain. This is, again, the Climate Prediction Center outlook for the 18th and the 19th, Joe. So what's tomorrow? Tomorrow is the 11th. So they're talking about a week from tomorrow, or next Wednesday and Thursday, and this just might be the remnant effects of whatever's out there, be it a tropical depression or perhaps the remnants of Fred if he does form. So,
by the way, I'm noticing. Yeah, I'm going to switch. Let me switch this. Switch it back because I'm noticing there's some when we're switching over just now. We're getting some audio issues here. So it seemed to happen when we switched over to the on the share. So now it stopped because I switched us back. So I guess I'm going to have to check some settings on Zoom because that's where it seems to be coming from. So to our wonderful audience there, 1,000 apologies upon our persons. Can you unswitch? Can you come off?
Sure.
There you go.
Take it off. Take it off. Take it off.
There you go. Oh, Tim. Tim, also known as Latex Dreams, I won't ask. Hit super chat. Hit super chat tonight. Thank you so much, Tim. Most appreciated. Thank you very much. All right, let's go to the intensity plots because while all of this confusion is going on, I did notice today, Joe, that more of the intensity plots have this at least as a tropical storm in the next few days. There are fewer that don't make it a tropical storm. We've got a couple that actually, well, one gets it to a Category 1 hurricane. Has gradual strengthening all through the night and all through the day tomorrow. I don't know what kind of surface track it has to match that. I would imagine that it actually would mean that this would have to track all offshore and not go over the island of Hispaniola. I don't know how that happens considering the shear that's around, but that's what that model says. But I think the takeaway here is that more of the models seem to be wanting to try to strengthen this, especially when we get down into the weekend when it's in the open waters of the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Conditions might be a little more favorable at that stage of the game.
Which model is that? Am I reading this correctly? Which model is that tries to make it a Category 4?
That is a model called the N. Hold on. I got to get really close to the screen to see the letters. That looks like it's the N, something called the NNIC. I have no idea
Okay.
what that is. Now, I know the ship's model because that's been around, for 100,000. That's been around since Charlemagne.
For a long time, yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
ship's model I recognize. I don't recognize a number of these, so I don't know what all these acronyms are. Like there's one over here, the EGRI, the EGRI model, EGRI or the EGRI or however you want to pronounce it.
Hmm.
Well, let's see if the Hurricane Center has done anything because it is 4 minutes to 8 o'clock Eastern time. And no, we still have the 6th there. Oh, they haven't updated this yet. Oh, yes, they have. Here we go. Same thing, but now they actually raised the wind to 40 miles an hour. 17.6, 66.1, moving west at 17. That's interesting. Disturbance located just south of Puerto Rico. System likely to become a tropical storm tonight, which is what they've been saying for 4 or 5 advisories now. Let's just get these. It's 40 miles southeast of Ponce, Puerto Rico, 240 miles east of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Top winds are
Wait, wait,
4.
did you say Ponce, Puerto Rico?
That's what it says here, Ponce, Ponce.
How about Ponce?
Oh, Ponce?
No,
Ponce. Okay. Well, it says I'm just
Ponce,
reading
Puerto
how it's
Rico.
spelled. Okay, it's Ponce, Puerto
All right.
Rico, but I rolled my R's for the Santo Domingo, the 240 miles east southeast of Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Top winds are 40 miles an hour. Now, see, they say west on that headline, but the present move. All right, so they need to issue a correction here because they're saying west northwest are 270 degrees. So obviously somebody didn't delete the NW. So it's west or
Yes.
270 at 17, 1,009 millibars on the pressure, 29.80. So let's see, some of the changes include Puerto Rico tropical storm warnings. No changes. I'm sorry. Tropical storm warnings for Puerto Rico, including Culebra and Vieques, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Dominican Republic on the south coast from Punta Palenque eastward, and on the north coast of Francis Viejo eastward. Tropical storm watch in effect for the Dominican Republic on the north coast. Okay, that's what I just said. In Haiti, from the northern border with the Dominican Republic to the what is that? The Gonaives.
Are you asking me?
Well, I'm not the only
I mean,
one that I don't. I'm not the only one whose head is on the chopping block here. Gonaives. What? Okay, Goneves, and the tropical storm watch also up for Turks and Caicos. That I know, and also for the southeastern Bahamas. So that's the latest that we have from the standpoint of the 8 o'clock advisory. So they have not made it a tropical storm yet. And I'll give the recon a quick refresh here. And I mean, I'm still seeing, they got these southeast winds and these northeast winds on the other side. It doesn't. The plane is now looks like it's going up and around, so probably going to come in from the northeast. So we should start to see some gales out of that, and then we'll have to see what happens when they get into the southwestern western quadrant if they find northwest winds. That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for something, some northwest winds on the south side, so they can close it completely off, and that's when they'll upgrade it.
And when we're talking about the places in Puerto Rico, Joe, I'd just like to point out a sidelight to all of you who are WWE fans. Culebra, Puerto Rico, was the hometown of the late World Wrestling Federation champion Pedro Morales. Just something that a little bit of, I won't call it trivia or whatever, but when you were rolling off your tongue all of those names, at least one of them popped up in my mind, and there you go.
Okay, gotcha. All right. All right, here's the latest GFS. And if you taking a look here, folks, and you've seen this model when they have nice wrapped up looking tropical systems, this one ain't it. Okay, this is very small, couple of closed isobars, and then it just kind of loses it. You have to just follow the precip shield. There's a little closed isobar there that moves off the north coast of the Dominican Republic, then it's gone, then it's back again when it moves over western Cuba, then it's gone, then it's back again. And on this run, the GFS has been going a little more to the right with every run, and on this run, it actually takes it off the coast of Cuba into the eastern part of the Florida Straits. It has a low center coming in near Miami sometime on Saturday night, and then kind of straddles up the west coast of Florida, as opposed to the hurricane tracking models that have almost all the tracks keep it offshore through the Florida Straits and then up the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico in open waters. And to Izzy's question, it doesn't really lift that moisture northward, so I'll have to take a look at what the upper air looks like. There's a couple of things to point out. There's a tropical wave late in the weekend that approaches the Leeward Islands almost in the same way that this one did, and this is for Sunday morning. There's a little low being analyzed there by the GFS moving into the northern leewards. So that's where that's the tropical wave that's off the African coast and moving westward that's mentioned by the Hurricane Center in their outlook. Also, if you look on the upper right, there's a low that forms, and it started doing this for a few runs now. There's a low that forms right at about, let me get rid of the paint box here, at about 36 and 66, and it actually spins it down southwestward and westward toward eastern North Carolina. Take a look at this, Joe. It did this on. It's done this for a couple of runs now. It spins up something there out at 30, 36, and 66, and then takes it straight west, a couple of closed isobars right into the North Carolina coast. Just as another system, another low gets generated in the eastern Bahamas. So, and then that comes up. Look at that.
What happened about 10 years? 10 days ago, the models were showing some kind of a Category 4 hurricane to the east of the Carolinas.
That's this. That's this. That's what it was. That's what we're seeing with this. That's what it was seeing with this, with the potential tropical cyclone 6, because it took it north of the islands. I don't think it anticipated the fact, at least those models probably underdid the amount of shear that exists in that area. Now take a look at the moment. It's kind of in this area of light shear just south of Puerto Rico, but take a look at the winds across the Northwest Caribbean, through Cuba, the Bahamas. You're talking about 30 to 40 knots of shear, southwest and westerly shear, just to the north of where this thing is. And if we go through the next several days, as I move this thing right along, the shear is still there. I mean, here's at 42 hours, which is on Thursday. You've got quite a bit of shear here from the eastern Gulf all the way east and uh, going now, we'll move it into Friday. Now it's the shear starts to diminish a bit as we go into the weekend, and what I think's happening is there's this upper low at way up there at 25,000 plus feet. Okay, that's sitting in the southeast, and that's going to try to pull away northward a little bit over the weekend. That might open the door for a more favorable environment in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. You get some, there's a good outflow that develops there later in the forecast period. Now, the GFS didn't do anything with it on this run because it's got it on a land track, but if it's far enough offshore and you can get this trough back through here starts to retrograde westward, that's going to create a decent outflow scenario in the eastern Gulf. So that we're going to have to watch that over the next couple of days to see how it evolves.
Do you think that this will actually be you just said it may be favorable for some action or some activity in the days to come?
I can see why the Hurricane Center is talking about the fact that conditions are more favorable when it gets into the eastern Gulf of Mexico, because that upper low way up at 300 and 200 millibars that's over northern Florida here on Friday starts to retrograde. Yeah, well, it retrogrades back westward. So it creates a strong southerly flow at that level of the atmosphere just to the west of the low center, and it's got a little upper high where that low is near. So it makes for a better. It's not ideal, but it's a better outflow situation that'll be setting up if it gets over into the eastern Gulf.
Yeah, well, if you're a tropical system, beggars can't be choosers. You take what you can get in your attempt to strengthen or intensify a little bit, and that may be the little creak in the door, so to speak, to allow it to happen.
Yep. All right, let's look at the upper air going forward. I'm going to bring up.
Yeah. Bulletin. Alfred Phillips, our friend up in Alaska,
yes,
saying first snowfall today. Believe it or not.
Ah, very good. So the Arctic terns must be getting ready to leave, Alfred.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. Well, I watch Planet Earth on Saturday, so I've seen them 1,000 times. But it's interesting. So many bird species that go up there to raise their young, and they have to do it quickly because the summers are fast and they got to lay their eggs, raise their young, and get them out of there before the fall arrives.
Right. They have winter right into August up there.
Right. Exactly. So here's our upper air on the GFS. You've got this trough. The GFS was bringing dew points into the 50s over the weekend. What did you think about that?
Nah, it's not going to happen.
You don't think so?
How can Joe? The flow doesn't seem to want to support a dew point drop that's significant. At least in my opinion.
All right. Well, certainly the upper trough goes up, much further north. It's not dropping all the way south. So we're.
We were talking yesterday about how all the good stuff was shearing off to the north.
Mm-hmm. And that still appears to be the case.
Yeah.
Now, after that, after this weekend trough lifts out, we start to get this ridge building in southeastern Canada. Actually, the center of the upper high is from between Lake Huron and James Bay. So going back to Izzy's question, there is there's a bit of a weakness there in the southeast, and also off the east coast. You can see there's an upper low that forms east of North Carolina, which is why it probably formed that surface low and spun it back westward. It actually takes the whole upper low back westward underneath a closed upper high in New England come around August 20th and 21st, while a deep trough drops down into the west for the first time in a long time. But mostly a ridge position in the east, no sign of any troughing coming into the east, at least through the last day of this model period, which, by the way, is August 26th.
On August 20th, I'm looking at the 500 millibar height on the GFS, and we've got a big, or maybe not big, but a significantly strong ridge of high pressure over the northeast. we have that upper low that you just alluded to off the Carolinas. It seems to me, Joe, that if this were to pan out, and again, now we're looking 230 some odd hours
Right.
ahead of today or whatever, but if this pans out, we could find ourselves looking at a rather significant onshore flow for places like the Delmarva and for southern New Jersey. The difference being the high to the north and the uh, low pressure system that's trying to develop off the mid-Atlantic coast or off the Carolina coast. But that's so far ahead. That's what, a week from this Friday, for
You're right.
goodness sake.
But
So
even the European, by the way, does the same thing. It has a the ridge building up in southeastern Canada. It kind of moves it to Maine and Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. In the
right,
meantime, another upper low forms over the Great Lakes and drops. There's a closed upper low in West Virginia next Friday, with a southwest flow, two height lines with a south-southwest flow east of there and along the coast. So that has a whole nother set of implications with regards to the kind of weather we could wind up having here in the east for the latter part of next week. So we do live in fascinating times in the world of weather. We always do, trying to figure out these puzzles, these meteorological puzzles that are put to play. So I'm going to just bring this.
I
Let's
mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
I mean,
ahead.
I'm looking at the surface map, and I'm looking at what looks like a 10:02 low. This is as of August 23rd, a 10:02 low, like in Delaware Bay,
Hmm.
and a lot of contours. It means it's a tightly wound up system. And meanwhile, you've got this tremendous upper level ridge of high pressure covering most of New England. The low can't come up the coast. It's going to be, if this were to pan out, it's being literally forced to the north and west up across. I guess let me keep looking at this. It seems like it's trying to push it toward Pittsburgh
Hmm.
because it can't go up the coast because the ridge is so strong. And by the way, if the ridge is as strong as that, dare I say, maybe we're looking at extreme. You talk about tomorrow and the next couple of days being hot. Dare I say that it might be rather hot, especially so during the third week of August, the third week of this month.
Yeah. One
Yeah,
thing.
interesting times indeed.
One thing, if this flow is onshore-ish, the one thing that will come out of it is the fact that the ocean water temperatures are going to get really. I mean, they're already warm. They're getting close. They're at their the next couple of weeks is the warmest time with ocean water temperatures. But if you're going to put an onshore flow that's pretty much from the east, that's 80-degree water that's out there. That's going to get pushed more toward the shore during if this materializes. So it'll be interesting because the ocean water temperatures are going to wind up being above normal if that pans out. Because it's when you have west winds that you wind up with all the upwelling, but the east wind pushes in some of that water. Gulf Stream water gets pushed back westward. So that'll be interesting to see if that happens. Yeah, I'm looking here. I'm rolling at the surface where you get this new low that forms in the Bahamas uh, next weekend, and this is the weekend of the 21st, 22nd, and it goes northeast and then north and then turns northwest right up into Chesapeake Bay and heads towards Pittsburgh. And there's like an arm of rain that moves up the coast. So
Right.
very strange times indeed. And in the meantime, let's not forget that we've got the models are probably not going to pick up on the extent of thunderstorm activity. Certainly didn't do it today. I mean, this is what it had. Take a look at the GFS for this evening. Considering what was on the radar earlier, take a look at what the GFS has had for this evening, and it didn't have much. It does generate a few cells for tomorrow. I suspect this is also going to be underdone on Thursday. It's got two very strong looking clusters further inland. So I'm guessing again that it's going to be more widespread. And this is for Friday with that slight risk, that 15% risk that's in the long range. The model is generating some big cells Friday evening through parts of upstate New York, northeastern Pennsylvania, down into northern Virginia. So at least it's kind of getting this part of it matching up to what the forecast is from SPC. And then over the weekend, it does have this high building up in New England. I'm going to pull up the dew points here. And by the way, on the south of this, you can also see, again, you see whatever this is, be it depression, storm, potential tropical cyclone goes in a little further east on this run, moves up the state of Florida, and then just the moisture comes up the Appalachians and stays to our west because of the ridge building up in New England. But here's your dew points here. Let's see what they do with the dew points. Now this is next. I got the map. I started it next Tuesday, Joe. It's got dew points in the 50s next Tuesday.
Well, you know, if you look at the flow, the 500 flow, in our part of the country, we are still in a kind of a southwesterly flow, which normally would not provide you with dew points that, you know, in the favorable 50s range. But then if you go all the way, you trace that line all the way back, it kind of flattens out and becomes west over the Midwest, and it seems to be trying to take air from north of the Dakotas into our area. But again, it comes down and then it comes into our area, not on that classic northwest flow, which is what we always look for,
right?
But more of a southwesterly flow. So I don't know. I still don't think it's going to get. You know, maybe we'll see dew points.
Well, by Sunday morning, it's got a 49 dew point at New York City.
Yeah, but Joe, let me ask the question then. If that be, you're saying this by when? By
Sunday morning.
By Sunday?
Yeah. By Saturday morning, the dew point that's printed up, just the number is north and west of New York City, is 64. At 18Z, it's at 50. At 0Z, it's at 53. At 6Z Sunday morning, it's at 48. And at 12Z, it's at 49. It comes up a little bit, but it's still in the low 50s Sunday night, Monday night, and, you know, still hanging around on Tuesday, believe it or not.
Why is it that those maps never ever match up with the GFSX? The tabular. Now you're talking about dew points in the 40s, upper 40s. I'm seeing here on the tabular numbers here, we have for later in the day on Saturday still a dew point of 61. Sunday they get it down to 55. So yes, the tabular numbers are saying, yeah, we're going to get into the 50s, but not until later on next weekend. Then it bounces it back up to 59 on Monday, and we're back in the 60s dew point wise on Tuesday. So I don't know. I would tend to believe the tabular numbers because they always seem to be more, you know, on the money. The ones that we're looking at on the tropical tidbits chart are always something like 5 to 7 degrees lower, both in terms of dew point and also in terms of temperature. I don't understand the discrepancy.
I don't either. Well,
but if you want to believe these numbers for the GFSX, that the tabular numbers, yes, you're right. It does look like we are, for at least a day or two, going to see dew points back in the 50s, beginning on Sunday and on into Monday. And that's a little bit of a break because we go back into the 60s on Tuesday. And look at these, the dew point values here: 70 tomorrow, 69 on Thursday, right. 70 Friday, 61. And you know what? 61 is, we normally would call muggy, but coming off of a 3-day stretch where we were at around 70,
it'll feel
even
better.
Saturday it'll feel better.
It'll feel better.
Yeah.
Izzy hitting super chat again tonight. Double hit for Izzy D. Thank you very much. All right, so let's do some Burler Jeopardy really quick. And I seem to the thunderstorm that was near me. Looks like it's already passed because I don't hear any lightning, any thunder anymore. I haven't seen any lightning because I'm surrounded by so much forestry and mountains. I can't really see the sky. Okay, so let's. This is good.
Before you start, Tom Contino is asking, what do I mean by tabular numbers? Basically, I'm just looking at the numbers that come off of the computer guidance that give you, let's say, the temperature and the dew point temperatures at 3-hour intervals, specific numbers that are churned out by the models, as opposed to what Joe's looking at, which are the maps. They have numbers too, but they don't seem to match up with what the tabular numbers are. And I would tend to believe more the tabular numbers, because I've noticed over all these weeks and months that those dew point and those temperature maps, once you go past only a couple of days, they're always more extreme. Let's say in this case, the dew points seem to be much too low. Taking dew points by Sunday, for example, to the 40s, that doesn't sound right. It's there for you to see, but it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't look right. Anyway.
All right. We got all sorts of weird things going on tonight. So let's run through Briller Jeopardy here. So Joe, today, Jeopardy Day Le Brillard is these seven states. These seven states have never recorded a temperature of below -20. Okay, these seven states have never recorded a temperature below -20. And of course, if you were with us last night, you'll know that the prize for all of this is the latest, the very latest. So you talk about waiting for your latest iPhone model. Well, we've got the Joe Rayo cell phone as the prize tonight. All right, it's the new cell phone for people over the age of 50. So anyway, I thought I'd take the opportunity to play this one more time, and you'll never see this phone ever again. Okay?
I love it. I love it.
I promise.
I
Okay, so Joe,
yeah.
these seven states have never, ever in their history reported a temperature below -20. Name those seven states.
It's ironic. I actually believe that, you immediately say, oh, well, of course, Florida. But, if, like a place like Jacksonville, for example, or Tallahassee, well, maybe not Tallahassee. They're too close to the Gulf of Mexico. But I wouldn't even discount a part of northern Florida seeing a temperature that low. But then again, if Florida can't, if Florida's not on the list, what state?
What would be?
Could be, yeah. What would it be? So I'll say I'll say Florida.
And you would be correct. Florida is one of those states. The lowest temperature ever recorded in the state of Florida was -2.
Okay, so why don't we go next door? How about Alabama?
No, Alabama is not on the list.
I knew it.
Alabama has gone down to -20.
Isn't that amazing? But then again, you've got the panhandle of Florida, and then you got Alabama, and Alabama kind of sticks up further to the north, so they could probably get an Arctic intrusion or whatever that could drop them to below 20 degrees. All right. So what else? What other state might? I'm thinking of Louisiana, but I'm thinking that maybe Shreveport on a rare occasion might have gotten down that low. But I'll say Louisiana.
Louisiana is on the list. Their all-time low is -16.
Okay. All right. Now, if Alabama was on the list, I'm sure that if Alabama has gone below, has hit -20, I'm sure Mississippi has done that as well.
Right. Well, Alabama did not make the list, by the way.
Did not make the list.
They did not. That was a big no.
And I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mississippi.
But Mississippi did. Wait. I'm sorry. Just a second. Alabama did hit. No, you're screwing me up. So Alabama did hit -20, so they're not on the list. These are states that did not hit -20. So, and you're saying that Mississippi. Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying is that if Alabama did indeed hit -20, Mississippi should certainly have been that too, because they're right next door, and they're as far north in latitude as Alabama. So I'm not going to say Mississippi, because I think Mississippi is probably a -20 state. Now, Louisiana, not on the list.
I'm sorry. Okay. was my right. Florida -2.
Right.
Louisiana -16 for
Minus
the state low. So those
16.
two are on the
Right.
list.
All right. Well, Texas has to be on the list when they get those Texas northers, especially up near Amarillo, for example. I'm sure many times they've dropped below -20. Now, so we go into the desert Southwest now. I will, with much trepidation, I will say New Mexico.
And you are wrong. New Mexico has gone down to -20, so they do not make this list of ours. That is for places that have not hit -20.
Well, then Arizona certainly has hit -20. If what are we trying to figure out
No,
again?
you keep flipping it. All right, just because you're saying it is on the list and it's not on the list, so you keep flipping it. This list are states that did not that have whose low temperatures are are
Higher than -20.
higher than -20. So
Right.
-19, -18, -17, -16. So none of
And you said
these.
So you said New Mexico has gone to -20 or lower.
Yes, correct.
Correct. So what I'm saying is that if New Mexico did it, Arizona had to have done it too. So I'm not going to
You're not going to pick Arizona. You're telling me who you're not going to pick. I want you to use because that's what's throwing everybody this whole thing off. So, go ahead, keep going.
I can't even choose Hawaii because Hawaii, to me, there's Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea, the astronomical observatory, and they're at 13,800 feet. Now, you would, well, but they're at 17 degrees latitude.
Yeah.
So they're cold, but maybe not as cold as -20. All right. So I'm going to say on the list also of states that have not dropped as low as -20 would be Hawaii.
Hawaii makes this list. Yes, actually the low there, the all-time low there is for the state is 12 above.
12.
Yes, above.
Wow.
So Florida, Hawaii,
Even at
Louisiana are on the list, are on my
even at
list.
even at 13,000 feet, 12
Mm-hmm.
degrees is the lowest temperature. That's amazing. All right. Who else is left? Who else is left? It can't be California. Uh, dare I say Nevada? I'll say Nevada.
No, Nevada did not
No.
make this list, so they've been
This is
20.
this is a very tough list, Joe.
It is.
I mean,
You know what? I'm going to help you. Get out of the West. All these states are clustered. The remaining states are in the eastern half are in the eastern half of the United States. They're all east of the Mississippi River.
okay. Well, I mean, I'm thinking in my mind the maps here. Should I try for Mississippi? Should I say Mississippi?
Well, what the hell? Go ahead and say it.
Mississippi.
And Mississippi is there. They don't. They've been as low as -19.
Wow, that's just one shy of the
Mm-hmm.
one shy of -20. All right. Um, Arkansas? No. Well, I remember one case. It was on Christmas Eve, 1966, that Arkansas set a national low of something like 17 below zero. Certainly, they could have gotten to 20 below. I don't know. The rest of them seem like the rest of the states in my mind, Joe, certainly could have gone down as
Well,
low
look,
as 20 below zero.
the ones that are on this list have impressive all time state lows. They're just not down to 20 below.
Hmm. Hmm.
They all
I'll
have
say Arkansas.
double digit state low records, but they're not down to
I'll
20 below.
I'll say Arkansas.
You're incorrect. All right, so since we only have 3 left, I'll help you. Okay, one of the ones you missed, is where I'm sitting
Georgia?
in Georgia,
You
-17.
Wait a minute. How is that possible that Alabama got to like minus no, I forgot already.
Alabama got to
Mississippi.
Alabama got at least down to minus 20. Georgia got to minus 17.
All right. So Georgia and how about South Carolina?
South Carolina on the list. Now there's one left, okay, and I think this is probably no matter how many state you'll call. I think if I left you, you would probably call every other state but this state, okay, um, and that's Delaware.
Delaware?
Minus
Delaware never made it to
no
minus 20?
minus 17. Now, if you think about it, Delaware is so small and it's right on the coast. I mean, you know, you basically could
Apparently surrounded by water.
you could
Yeah.
sleep right. You could sneeze on Rehoboth Beach and then you can blow your nose over in on the Maryland state line. So I mean,
Right.
and you drive into the state and the sign says, "Welcome to Delaware. Pay the $4 bridge toll, then pay the $4 state toll." And the next sign you see is, "You are now leaving the state of Delaware. Welcome to Maryland."
It's kind of like that little piece of Interstate 684
Yes, where
where
you're in
the
Connecticut
sign
for
says,
1 mile.
welcome to Connecticut and goodbye. You're out of Connecticut.
Yes. The chairman, Scott Briller, hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Scott. Says you can drive within several. Well, we already they're running on a lag time, so yeah, we got the Delaware one in there. So,
Right.
all right, so that kind of wraps it up. Okay, so tomorrow at 8:30. I'm sorry, tomorrow at 7:30, like tonight. Or
Wait a minute. I
what do
think
you got going on tomorrow?
I got one more talk this week, and that talk is oh, it's a trio tomorrow night. Peekskill, Croton Free, and Putnam Valley, 7 p.m. So that means I guess we'll have to delay the talk tomorrow night until 8:30.
8:30 it is. Okie
Okay.
doke. All right.
And you'll be happy to hear. I have no other talks scheduled until September 23rd after tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, before we say goodbye, let me just really quick pull up the radar just in case something else is going on. Since it was so busy when we started the show, I might as well, because I don't want to get caught. And we still actually have a few severe thunderstorm warnings left. So this radar shot is from 5 minutes ago, the last frame on the loop. So the northern cluster now is, there's still some good cells there holding together in northern New Jersey into New York City. I mean, it is weakening, so we're well past the peak, and I wouldn't expect any additional warnings to come out of this. So this area should gradually weaken as it moves across Long Island. We've got 3 severe thunderstorm warnings, 2 in southeastern Pennsylvania, and then over the New Jersey line in southwest New Jersey. And a special marine warning that at 8:33 is up for Delaware Bay, and also one in Chesapeake Bay, and a leftover severe thunderstorm warning down right just along the coast there in Chesapeake Bay on the Maryland side. So they're past peak, and the other area is still very busy around the Great Lakes. And it looks like Chicago's down. All of Chicago is under. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like 7 severe thunderstorm warnings. And also up in northern Wisconsin around Green Bay, we've got 3 working severe thunderstorm warnings in that area, plus a slew of special marine warnings. So the radars remain busy up in the upper Midwest in that enhanced area of severe weather. So once again, everybody, if you're watching this on a replay, we're finishing up the show here at 8:34 Eastern Time. So be sure, if you want to get the latest weather information regarding severe weather in your neck of the woods, go to weather.gov, the Weather Service's website, weather.gov. And just click on your local geography, and you can bring up your local forecast office. And of course, the latest on anything going on in the tropics, you want to go to the National Hurricane Center's website, and that website is NHC, National Hurricane Center, nhc.noaa.gov. All right, so we'll see everybody tomorrow night. Nighty night.
Nighty night.